Hi, it's Titi here for My Sacred Blood. Welcome or welcome back to the only channel on YouTube that focuses exclusively on truly holistic menstrual care. If you haven't already, do go check out the website. Part 7 of my 12-part digital coaching series, My Sacred Blood Strategy for Cyclical Living, is now available for download, and new digital coaching sessions are always posted on the first Monday of every month. If you're already there, consider joining the mailing list by filling out the little form below. And of course, share this video with at least one person who you feel will benefit from this content. In this video, we are going to be talking about menstrual cups, or more specifically, menstrual discs, and how they're being marketed as period sex protection devices, or as being good for mess-free period sex. The main difference between menstrual discs and menstrual cups are used, in my opinion, to collect blood, and they look something like that. The blood will fill the inside of the cup. On the other hand, menstrual discs, whether they are disposable or reusable, do not collect the blood, but rather they stop the blood from coming out. And why do I say that? Because every time I've tried a menstrual disc, it's extremely difficult to remove it without creating a mess, because the blood does not collect inside the cup. It just stops the blood from coming out, if that. And when you do go to remove it, it's pretty difficult to remove it without creating a mess, because in order to remove it, you do have to, whether you tip it backwards or you tip it forward, you do have to tip it downward in order to pull it out. And when you tip it downward, obviously there will be some spillage. And so that's pretty much the difference, in my opinion. Maybe you've been able to use a menstrual disc and have it be mess free when taking it out. But I have done reviews on a couple of these, on both the Nixit menstrual disc and the Soft Cup menstrual disc. As far as I know, Soft Cup, or Insteads by Soft Cup, has been acquired by a company called Flex. So it's now Soft Cup by Flex. And there's also another menstrual disc company called the Ziggy Cup. I've never tried that one, but these are just a few of the menstrual discs that are out there right now. The technical difference between the two is that the FDA does not regulate so-called menstrual discs. And so for them to be approved, they have to be submitted as menstrual cups, and they're regulated as menstrual cups. And so that's why you'll find that menstrual discs are sometimes advertised as menstrual cups, although they are very different in style, in make, and in effectiveness, pretty much. Menstrual discs are often marketed as something that can be used for mess-free period sex. I don't even know how to categorize that and why it's not being regulated. I mean, condoms make great birthday balloons, but you wouldn't advertise them as that. There are certain things that if it's not created for that purpose, then it shouldn't be advertised for that purpose. Another reason why it shouldn't be is because a lot of younger people are trying menstrual cups and menstrual discs. It's a growing market, and I don't think it's appropriate to be marketing these things for teens, or potentially for teens who might use it, as being great for mess-free period sex. If you don't like the mess, skip the period sex. That said, my main issue with promoting these items, these menstrual care items, as being great for period sex, is that number one, it's just outright false and misleading. First of all, who tests for that? Is there any kind of testing that goes behind it, where someone is actually doing a clinical study or test on how to use these menstrual discs for period sex? Are they observing people having period sex and testing if this thing is able to hold the blood? I very highly doubt that. And if it hasn't been tested for that, then there's no way to make such a claim. Number two, there is no way to even have an orgasm doing this. So what is the point anyway? Like, who is the period sex for in that case? Now, of course, when I'm talking about orgasms here, I'm talking about orgasms through vaginal penetration, because of course, clitoral orgasms can be had during periods and can be mess-free when you're wearing a tampon, and those are not advertised as useful for mess-free periods or great for mess-free periods. And so here I'm talking about vaginal penetration, and these things actually surround the walls of the vagina, and so that's not happening. And so if period sex is being had during this time, then it's clearly not for the female, because the female can't even have an orgasm at this time. So what would be the point in putting in one of these devices to have period sex when you're not really going to get anything from it anyway? Next is, as in the case of any insertables, usually they're worn with liners. Why is that? Because of leakage. Nothing is 100%. It's not going to stop the blood, so there will be some mess. And so no, it does not help with mess-free period sex, or it doesn't prevent mess-free period sex. Periods or blood is going to be messy. Blood on the sheets is going to be messy. And so if you don't like messy sex, then once again, period sex just ain't it. Just don't do it. You can wait a couple days, a few days to get some sex. And then finally, of course, as I've mentioned, period sex is a form of blood magic, whether you like it or not. And I'll say here that I am not judging your freak game. You can do whatever it is, whenever you want to, no matter what time of the month. So I am not here to judge or to tell you what to do and what not to do. But once again, the fact of the matter is that period sex is a form of blood magic. In fact, it is what alchemy is based on. What is known as modern day chemistry is based on this anciently held belief that male semen could stop the period, and as a result of putting semen inside the vagina, it would stop the period and it would create life. So sex itself was a form of alchemy, but especially period sex or blood magic was thought to be metaphysical phenomenon or whatever. All right. Obviously, the views have changed since then with the advent of modern medicine, and the more we know now about the human body, those views have changed, but that was the basis of it, that period sex was a form of sex magic. And to this day, it is still performed as a form of ritualistic blood magic. Now, the reason why it's unsafe to mix these types of products with period sex is that when you're dealing with this type of blood magic, and I'll get into that in another video because that's a whole other subject, and that's on a whole other level, like on a spiritual level that I'm not prepared to discuss here. But when you introduce any type of foreign object, just as when you're doing any kind of magic spell, anything that you introduce into the ritual is going to have an effect on the ritual. And so when you introduce things like condoms or menstrual discs into this type of blood magic, then anything that is associated with that product, you know, the artificial chemicals, substances, the people who have touched it, any of the energies that came into contact with that product before you inserted it, is going to get involved into the ritual, into the spell, into the magic, and it's going to have an effect on you spiritually. And so for whatever reason you want to have period sex, even if you don't associate it with a spirituality or, you know, metaphysical anything, the fact still remains that that is what you are getting involved in. And so it's important to be careful with that. Like I said, do whatever type of freak you want to do. Just understand what it is that you're getting yourself involved in. My question would be, why even bother having period sex if you're not interested in the alchemical process of mixing blood and semen? That's number one. And number two is, if you are not interested really in period sex and you want a mess-free period sex, then is it really you that's asking for it, or is it your partner who wants sex during that time of the month and you're just accommodating that person by putting in the disc to make it less messy? And my third question would be, if it is you choosing to have period sex, and you're trying to make it mess free, are you doing that because you're trying to hide your period from your partner? And if so, is that person consenting to period sex, or are you just pretending like you're not on your period and having this person have sex with you on your period? I'm trying to figure out what is the mindset or the thought process that goes behind this whole I want to have mess free period sex. Now, those are just questions for you to ponder over, but you can leave your responses in the comments if you want. That is it for this one. I hope it helps or it gave you something to think about. Remember, I'm here every moon day at noon, and that is Eastern time. Until the next one, take care of yourself.